My name is Stephanie. I am the ripe age of 28, although sometimes it feels like I'm fucking 40. Um, and I live in Portland, Oregon. I identify as a lesbian. Lo and behold.
It's about lesbians. And, you identify as a lesbian, I identify as a lesbian. And it
Yep.
doesn't get any realer than two people talking about real issues. Yeah.
I think the L word was important though growing up because, I didn't have a lot of lesbian shows to look up to. There was maybe have you heard of that show? It was way back then, South of Nowhere or something.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, that was a big one because it like featured one of the first lesbian kisses on public television. But the L word was like my go-to when I needed like my gay fix because I grew up in a rural town in central New York, so there wasn't really a lot of gay people, you know?
I would love to talk to somebody who growing up they were always around a lot of gay people because
Yeah.
I was around even zero until I was around my first girlfriend. And
Hmm.
it's like even then we had like one or two friends, but it was just like you like hungered for anything gay, whether it was bad or not. And and
Yeah.
and it's just like I want to know if people who are around gay people, young people who grew up around gay people, that's probably more now than ever, but
Oh yeah.
like what's that like? Like that's what I want to know. Like I want like do you still like watch Logo? like are
Yeah,
you
we all
Logo?
do.
Yeah, like what do you do?
That is a good point. Like nowadays, I don't know that like it's exposed to so much in media, like LGBTQ plus. It's exposed so much in music too. Like the queer artists, Kehlani, um, the god of the lesbians, Haley Kiyoko. There's so much out there to be exposed, and
Hmm.
it's cool that they have that to look up to because I just had the L word and like I had to just like Google lesbians and that's what I had, you know?
Mm, it's like I thank God for knowing how to read and thank God for the internet.
Yeah,
Like because I don't
cheers.
know where I would be right now as a person and as like a gay person. It was so bad when I was young, and this is probably like telling my age to like the eighth power, but the L word didn't come out and or I didn't know about the L word until I was in college. And not only that, so before that, we had to drive to a city, check out a book at Barnes and Noble about
Yeah,
lesbians in that teeny tiny section that had like only that book pretty much.
always a tiny section in the Barnes and Noble,
Right?
at
Like
least back then. I would when I was like younger in high school, I would be or even in like my 20s in college, I was a little intimidated to go in that section in Barnes and Noble because I wasn't completely out at the
mhm.
time. So I'm just like peeking, passing through, like, oh, I'm just looking at the religious section. When I'd be like peeking through the lesbian section, I'd be like, all right, is anybody around? Just like, what? Just to your point, with even like PDA and showing affection, I remember me and my ex, her like love language was more physical and touching and, wanting to hold hands. When I was still very guarded about that, because I don't, you don't know who's out there in public. I'd be very paranoid.
Mhm.
I'd be like, no, I don't want to, like, especially in New Hampshire, I wouldn't want to hold hands in public. I wouldn't even want to like show affection. And it was a little bit of a strain in our relationship because that was her language to follow. That was her um, validation that I was, that I loved her. But
Mhm.
I didn't want to be open like that in public because one, New Hampshire is Republican AF.
Woo.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know who's around. You know, you see these stories about girls getting jumped and like other shit happening. So I'm just like a little careful.
I've lived it. Like I've been in the country where country boys have seen me holding hands with my girlfriend and been like, oh, they've made those comments where it's like,
Mhm.
is this a battle right now? What are you
Yeah,
saying to us right now? And so it's cool for some people to like be PDA like safe, but it's like
yeah,
we didn't live like that, and like everybody ain't like that, and it's like
yeah,
sad that like that's part of relationships. Y'all are it's a clash. Straight people don't do that. I mean, to an extent they do, but not like that.
yeah. They have that option too if they're like, you know, someone in the relationship isn't as lovey-dovey, but someone is like, they have the option to be like, okay, we can hold hands, it's whatever, or no, it doesn't matter. But LGBTQ plus people, I feel like don't
Mhm. It
have much of that comfortability.
it's like I'm pulling away or I'm hesitant because of like my like fear, not because of my preference first. It's not my
Yeah,
preference to not want to be a PDA person. It's just like from zero to like for 100, age 100, I was trained to not do that. And
yeah.
straight people don't get trained like that. You're allowed to not feel fear when you hold somebody's hand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I don't know how other like lesbians feel about it. I know to play devil's advocate a little bit, I know in order to break the boundaries for that to be recognized as like the norm or societal norm, people have to hold hands like that and have to go in parts like that in order for other people to get used to it, I guess. But I don't know. It's everyone's choice, you know. If you want to hold hands, cool. If not, cool. I'm personally not a PDA person, but I think it's just who you want to be, who you are.
That's a good point.
Hmm.
Yeah. You you have to be brave enough to do these things, and thank God for those people who did and
Yeah.
do.